On the battlefields of the east, Ukraine tries to repel the Russians. But on the western frontier, it's engaged in a different sort of war. Here, the authorities are trying to stop their citizens from getting out. Every day, the authorities catch men suspected of dodging the draft.
Okay, so I just want to talk about yet another reason to immediately end this proxy war in Ukraine. We got two superpowers, Russia and the United States, having a proxy war in Ukraine, and the people who are being hurt the most from this war are Ukrainians. Now, I blame the Ukrainians a lot for this. I blame the Ukrainian government a lot for this because they are allowing themselves to be suckered and used as pawns, as cannon fodder by the United States, by the powers that be, by the military industrial complex, all these people getting rich off of this war. I call for the citizens to rise up against the government there and overthrow them so they can survive, because clearly Zelensky is not going to give up. He's a full-blown dictator at this point because his term as president ran out a couple of weeks ago. He refused to leave office, even cancel the election. So he's an unelected authoritarian right now, sending men out to die. But that's a different video. We have hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians. People talk all this trash about the morale of the Russians. All the Russians are trash. They're sorry. Russia's being depleted. The truth of the matter is, Ukraine is in ruins. Complete ruins. The people are in abject poverty over there. And they are trying their best to escape. Some have managed to escape, and Zelensky right now is calling on all of those Western European nations that accept the Ukrainians. If you have any men over there, send them back so we can send them to go die in the front lines of the war. They have press gangs. I talked about this some months ago. Ukrainian press gangs going around house to house, driving down the streets looking for men. If you're a man in Ukraine, you could be 20-something to 50-something. If they catch you, they're going to throw you in the van and make you join the army. This is what a press gang does. This is a historical definition of press gangs. And people denied it. People act like the Ukrainians were so full of morale, so full of vigor, so full of courage. When the truth of the matter is, these people are just trying to survive. They don't want to die. Now, a lot of the people who actually bought into it, who actually had patriotism and were deceived thinking that they were just fighting for their country when really they're fighting for a rich man on the other side of the world. A lot of those men, they're already dead. So the press gangs are going around trying to fill positions with the men who didn't want to get drafted into the army. Forcible drafts, literally grabbing men and forcing them, stuffing them in a van, kidnap basically. So let's take a look at a couple of clips of what the hell is going on over there.
This 30-year-old man is a public servant, which means he's exempt from conscription. But he did get the call-up, which made him panic. He cannot, in any way, imagine dying for Ukraine.
Many young people no longer leave their homes. There's always a risk. You have to be really careful and look around. 360 degrees, in case there's any danger. It's really stressful. Why don't young people want to be drafted into the army? Because they know the price of holding the front lines. It costs thousands of lives.
Each of these flags represents a fallen soldier. This lawyer is an expert in military matters. Dozens of clients come to him to ask how they can avoid being drafted.
We look for legal means to delay conscription. But because of corruption, there are also illegal methods. For example, paying off the people from the Armed Forces Commissary, or paying for a false certificate of disability.
On average, it costs 7,000 euros to dodge the call-up. To help others, stations on encrypted networks geolocalize recruitment patrols in real time. Some of them have more than 100,000 followers.
This is what the U.S. taxpayers' dollars are funding, because they're out of money. They don't have any money over there in Ukraine. So some of this money, the money that actually managed to be used for this war, not the money that's funneled into money laundering coffers, but the money is used for the war. You have to pay these guys, these recruiters, quote unquote recruiters, who are running these press gangs. So U.S. taxpayer money is funding kidnapping Ukrainian men off the street, throwing them in vans, forcing them to go die in the front lines. This is horrific. This is a shame. This is a humanitarian disaster. But they don't want to end it. Hundreds of thousands dead. Country is in ruins, completely crushed. Let's take a look at another clip to get a better look at one of these graves, one of these areas with people crying and trying to cope with the fact that they just lost a loved one in a war that they can't even win.
These are the patrols many Ukrainian men now dread. Conscription officers like Pavlo hunting for draft dodgers. Ukraine needs a lot more soldiers, but they're not flooding to the front lines anymore. So some have to be caught and cajoled. Pavlo lost his arm near Bakhmut in a mortar attack. But he wanted to go on serving his country. So now he looks for other men who can still fight.
There's a full-scale war, but it's still like people don't care. We need everyone to come together, like they did on the first day. Everyone was united then, like brothers.
But when I ask about friends who've served with him, Pavlo tells me there's almost no one left from his company.
Everyone's either injured like me or dead.
Every Ukrainian town now has cemeteries like this, filled with the soldiers honoured by their country as heroes and mourned deeply by their families. Vladislav was killed by a mine near Bakhmut. He was 22. Ina hasn't put his photo on the grave yet because she can't quite accept her only son has gone. But she's proud of him.
I believe my son died doing the right thing.
When I ask about those who avoid signing up, Ina doesn't judge them.
Do you think my son wasn't afraid? I was afraid too when he went. Everyone is afraid of dying. But maybe being enslaved by Russia is scarier.
So, end the war. It's too much money involved. Ukraine and Russia had a deal about 5 weeks or so after the invasion. Russia entered Ukraine in February 2022. I think it was early April, late March 2022. They agreed, they came to terms. They were in Belarus negotiating. They came to terms, went down to Turkey to finalize. And the United States and England, UK sent Boris Johnson over there, interfered. They intervened to prolong the war, saying, oh no, screw those Russians, Putin bad, they're evil, don't trust them. We got the best military technology in the world. We got your back. We're going to give you money. We're going to make sure you survive. Ukraine bought into it. They got suckered because the West wanted to prolong a war to harm Russia and to get rich off of it. And now they're sitting there with their country in ruins. Right now, their second largest city is under attack, Kharkiv, and is about to be taken by the Russians, just like many other cities have already. So I say, for the sake of life, for the sake of helping people doing what's right, can we end this thing? I'm not even talking about the fact that U.S. is now aiding Ukrainian military into attacking directly into Russia, about to spark World War III. That's a different reason to end the war. But we're talking about men just trying to survive. You got your family, you got your wife, kids. You just want to live. You just happen to be born in the wrong place, born in Ukraine, and now you can't escape. If they see you, you can't even go to the damn gas station and go pick up some groceries. If they see you in there buying a loaf of bread, you're going to get snatched up and sent to the front line. But they talking about the Russians doing this. Oh, the Russians, they're using prisoners. Oh, the Russians, they're forcing people. They have no morale. Well, look at what's going on in Ukraine. These people hate Russia so much, Putin bad, they bought into all of this propaganda that they completely ignore all of this evil that's going on in Ukraine. Of course they're laundering money, stealing money. People at the top in Ukraine are getting filthy rich. They're not fighting. The rich people's kids are not fighting. But they'll take the everyday normie Ukrainians, the ones who are barely making this living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to find their way in life, they will take those people, they will take their children, send them off to die. And the people who are getting sent off to die have nothing to show for it. Nothing. Dead and gone. But the ones in charge, oh, they're getting paid. Zelensky is a billionaire at this point because he's getting so much money off of American funding that he's super rich. And before this thing completely collapses on him, I'm sure he's going to take off just like Afghanistan, sent all their funding and built their army. The president of Afghanistan, the U.S. puppet in Afghanistan, president, just like Zelensky is a U.S. puppet. When it was collapsing on him, he took his billions of dollars and took the hell out. We ain't seen him since. And that's the same thing Zelensky is going to do. And like I said, these rich people, they would never send their children. But there you have it. Press gangs, forcible conscription, kidnap. So let me know what you guys think about this. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.